All right, so are you ready to settle this once and for all?
Let's do it.
Ruby Sapphire or Emerald? Which Pokemon Gen 3 game is the ultimate champion? We're diving deep today.
We've got a ton of info to unpack.
I think some friendly debate is definitely in order.
Absolutely. It's amazing how these Game Boy Advance games each tell the story a little differently, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Ruby and Sapphire back in 2002, they didn't just have different Pokemon. They had totally different villain teams with like completely opposite goals.
Yeah, it's like they were mirror images of each other.
Yeah.
Right? In Ruby, you had Team Magma trying to like basically turn the whole world into a volcano.
Well, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
They were all about expanding the land no matter the cost.
Yeah.
But then in Sapphire, you had Team Aqua
Yo!
trying to flood everything and give the oceans all the space.
Talk about a clash of ideals. It was like fire versus water, literally.
Exactly. And then Emerald comes along in 2004, and it's like, wait a minute, hold my potion. I'm going to make this even crazier.
They combined the teams, right?
They did. They mashed both teams into the story.
Wow.
So Emerald isn't about choosing a side. It's about navigating this conflict between these two powerful forces that both think they're doing the right thing.
So it adds a whole new layer of complexity.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's part of what makes Emerald so interesting.
Yeah, okay, so the story branches differently, but then there's the Pokemon themselves.
Right.
Back in the day, it felt like half the arguments on the playground were about who got the better version exclusives.
Oh, absolutely. Those debates were everywhere, you know? In Ruby, you had Zangoose slicing its way through battles while Sapphire players were chilling out with Ludicolo's musical stylings.
Oh, I remember that. And then there was...
And don't even get me started on Solrock and Lunatone. Those celestial Pokemon that just added this, like, cosmic wonder to each version.
This is what I'm talking about. It wasn't just about which Pokemon was stronger. It was about their personalities, their designs, how they fit into the themes of each game.
Right. It was the whole package.
Okay, but hold on. Didn't Emerald shake things up even more than just combining the stories?
Ah, you're talking about the Battle Frontier.
The Battle Frontier.
This wasn't just some small addition. Emerald introduced this huge post-game challenge area that Ruby and Sapphire players could only dream of.
It was like a whole other game.
Yeah, a whole new level of competitive battling.
It was legendary. You'd beat the Elite Four, think you were the champ, and then bam, a whole new world of challenges opens up.
These are pretty epic.
Did Emerald change anything else about the core game, or was it just the Battle Frontier?
Well, actually, they also tweaked the gym leader teams and even the Elite Four.
Really?
Yeah. It wasn't like a complete overhaul, but just enough to keep even veteran players on their toes.
Oh, that's cool. So even if you'd already conquered Ruby or Sapphire Emerald, still offered a fresh, more challenging experience.
Exactly.
Okay, now we're getting to the heart of it. The legendaries, Groudon, Kyogre, and Rayquaza. Each version had its own mascot, right?
That's right. And each one with its own unique powers.
And every serious trainer wanted to catch them.
Oh, absolutely. Ruby had Groudon the ground type behemoth that could, like, scorch the earth with its power.
Yeah, it was pure raw power.
Yeah, the embodiment of untamed force.
And then you had Kyogre in Sapphire.
Yes, the water-type Leviathan capable of summoning torrential downpours and expanding the seas.
It was like the ocean itself had come to life.
Right.
Okay, those are pretty epic. But I always felt like Rayquaza in Emerald was on another level entirely. What was it about that dragon flying type that made it so special?
Well, for starters, Rayquaza had incredible stats, a true force of nature. But what really set it apart was its ability to completely nullify the weather effects of both Groudon and Kyogre.
Wait, really? So it could calm the storms and like quell the volcanic fury all at the same time?
It was like the ultimate equalizer.
How did it do that? Was it like immune to weather or something?
It was all thanks to Rayquaza's unique ability, Airlock. You see, Kyogre's Drizzle ability boosted water-type moves, and Groudon's Drought did the same for fire-type moves. But Rayquaza's Airlock just shut those weather effects down completely.
So each of these legendaries was a beast in its own right, but Rayquaza could just ignore the other's best tricks.
Pretty much. It was a game changer.
That's wild. Is there anything else that sets Emerald apart when it comes to these legendary Pokemon?
Oh yeah, here's the kicker. Emerald is the only version where you can catch all three, Groudon, Kyogre, and Rayquaza, all in the same game. No trading, no starting another save file.
So if you were a completionist, Emerald was the holy grail.
Exactly.
Wow, they really pulled out all the stops with Emerald. It makes me want to fire up my old Game Boy Advance right now.
I know that feeling. But before you do, let's break it down for our listener. If you're all about that fiery passion, Groudon's the way to go, and Ruby is the game for you.
And if you're more of a go-with-the-flow type of player, then Kyogre's calling your name in Sapphire. But what about Emerald? It seems like it has everything, but Is there a specific type of player it really appeals to? All right, so picking up where we left off, Emerald feels like it was made for players who just want that ultimate Gen 3 experience, right?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty fair assessment.
But let's zoom out for a second. We've been talking about all these cool features, but what was the real impact of these games? Like, how did they change the Pokemon series overall?
Well, Gen 3 wasn't just about adding new Pokemon and regions. It really shifted the entire landscape of the series. It felt like the series was maturing, becoming more sophisticated.
In what way?
Well, take the introduction of abilities, for example. They weren't just some gimmick. They totally changed how you thought about team building and battling.
Oh, yeah. Abilities. They added this whole hidden layer of strategy to every Pokemon.
Exactly. It wasn't just about raw power anymore. It became about finding the right synergy between a Pokemon's type, its stats, and its unique ability.
And then those strategic possibilities just exploded in Emerald with the addition of double battles.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Gen 2 introduced the concept, but Emerald refined it and made double battles way more frequent and strategic.
It was mind-blowing at the time. It was like learning the game all over again.
I know, right? You had to think about the abilities of not just your Pokemon, but your opponent's Pokemon as well.
And positioning became crucial.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Emerald made you think 2 steps ahead.
And it wasn't just the mechanics that evolved. Gen 3 introduced more intricate storylines, too.
That's true. Ruby and Sapphire tackled themes of environmentalism and human ambition.
But Emerald took it a step further.
It did. Remember how it wove together the narratives of both villain teams?
Yeah.
You were forced to confront the complexities of their motivations.
That's what really blew me away about Emerald's story. It wasn't just a simple good versus evil anymore.
Right.
You were caught in the middle of this clash between two groups who both thought they were saving the world.
Even if their methods were a little extreme.
Yeah, it made you question your own allegiances.
Exactly. It added this layer of moral ambiguity that you didn't really see in Pokemon games before.
And then there was the Battle Frontier.
Oh, yeah, the Battle Frontier.
Which was like its own phenomenon.
Practically a cult following.
It was the ultimate proving ground for any trainer who thought they were hot stuff.
It had so much variety, different battle facilities, unique challenges, and even special rules that really pushed your strategic skills to the limit.
It added so much replayability to Emerald.
It really did. It was like a whole new game within a game.
You could spend hours mastering different battle styles and trying out crazy team compositions.
Yeah, and pushing yourself to become the ultimate trainer.
It was addictive. And it really solidified Emerald's reputation as the definitive Gen 3 experience.
I think so.
But it's crazy to think that these games, even after all these years, are still so popular. What do you think it is about Gen 3 that keeps people coming back?
Well, nostalgia definitely plays a part, especially for those of us who grew up with these games.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But I think it goes deeper than that. Gen 3 was a turning point for Pokemon. It took what the previous generations built and expanded on it in bold and innovative ways.
Like it was this perfect storm of creativity. You had this stunning new region hone with unforgettable music and some of the most creative Pokemon designs yet.
Yeah, who could forget the first time they saw a majestic Salamence soaring through the sky or a quirky Spheal waddling along the beach?
Gen 3 really captured your imagination and pulled you into its world. It was an escape.
It was.
A place where you could become a Pokemon trainer and go on your own grand adventure.
And for a lot of us, that feeling of wonder and excitement never really faded.
It's true. I can still remember that sense of awe I felt exploring Hone for the first time.
Me too.
It was like stepping into a living, breathing world.
And the music was a huge part of that.
Oh, the music was phenomenal.
It had this epic orchestral feel that perfectly captured the scope and grandeur of the Hone region.
And every town and route had its own distinct theme that made each location feel so unique.
I still catch myself humming those tunes sometimes.
Me too. It's like they're etched into our brains. But it wasn't just the visuals and the music that made Gen 3 so memorable.
Right.
It was the little details, the hidden gems, the things that made the world feel so alive and full of personality.
Like the secret bases.
Oh, yeah.
Such a cool feature. You could create your own personalized hideout, decorate it with all sorts of items, and even battle your friends there.
It added a whole new level of personalization and social interaction to the game.
Yeah, it was great.
I remember spending hours decorating my secret base, trying to make it the ultimate hangout spot. It was a way to express your creativity and leave your mark on the Pokemon world.
It's something I really miss in the later Pokemon games.
Me too. Secret bases were such a unique and charming feature. They added a sense of ownership and personality that really enhanced the whole experience.
I agree.
But aside from all the nostalgia, Gen 3 also had a big impact on the future of the Pokémon series.
Oh, absolutely.
So many of the features and mechanics introduced to these games became staples of the franchise.
Yeah, Gen 3 was a game changer in so many ways, like abilities. They revolutionized Pokemon battles.
It's hard to imagine a Pokemon game without abilities now. They've become such a core part of the gameplay.
And it's all thanks to Gen 3.
It's like they unlocked a whole new dimension of Pokemon battling.
And then there were the double battles.
Right.
While they were technically introduced in Gen 2, they really came into their own in Emerald.
Double battles became more frequent, more strategic, and just more fun.
They forced players to approach battles in a totally different way.
You had to consider positioning synergy and how your Pokemon's abilities interacted with each other.
Exactly. Emerald really emphasized the importance of teamwork and strategy.
And that influence has continued to this day.
It has.
It's amazing how Gen 3's legacy is still felt throughout the Pokemon franchise.
It really is. It's like the developers tapped into something special with these games, something that resonated with players on a really deep level.
They found this perfect balance between innovation and familiarity. They introduced groundbreaking new features like abilities and double battles while staying true to the things that made Pokemon so beloved in the first place.
The sense of adventure, the bond between trainer and Pokemon, and the thrill of discovering new creatures and challenges.
And that's something worth celebrating. Gen 3 wasn't just a collection of games, it was a cultural phenomenon.
It left an undeniable mark on the world of Pokemon.
It was a testament to the power of creativity, imagination, and the enduring appeal of Pokemon.
It really was.
I'm curious, though, what do you think Gen 3's biggest contribution to Pokemon was? Is there anything that stands out to you? It's funny, we've been getting really deep into all the technical stuff about Gen 3, the changes, the impact, and all that.
Right.
But for a lot of people, these games are more than just mechanics. They're like time capsules.
Oh, yeah, definite.
Snapshots of a specific time in their lives.
Yeah. For a lot of players who grew up in the early 2000s, Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald weren't just games.
Right.
They were companions.
They were always there.
Yeah. They were there for those first steps into the world of Pokemon, for those late-night battles with friends, for those quiet moments of exploration and discovery.
It's true. Each generation kind of becomes intertwined with a player's personal journey.
It does.
And Gen 3, with its vibrant world and all those groundbreaking features, it had a special kind of magic.
It really did. It captured the imaginations of a whole generation of trainers.
The Hone region, with its lush forests and volcanic peaks and that huge, sprawling ocean, it felt so vast and unexplored.
And the Pokemon designs were amazing.
Oh, yeah.
From the elegance of Milotic to the charm of Mudkip, Gen 3 introduced so many Pokemon that quickly became fan favorites.
And the music.
Oh, yeah.
Even now, hearing those tunes can take me right back to those carefree days of exploring Hone.
It's like the soundtrack to our childhood.
It really is. The music was just phenomenal. It had this grand orchestral feel that perfectly captured the scale and the wonder of the Hone region.
It's no wonder those melodies have stuck with us all these years.
But what about people who discovered Pokemon later on? Can they still appreciate Gen 3? Even without that nostalgic connection?
Absolutely. The great thing about Pokemon is that it transcends generations. The core elements, the adventure, the bonds with your Pokemon, the thrill of the unknown, those are timeless. And Gen 3 embodies all of those elements beautifully.
Plus, it introduced so many innovations that are now just part of the Pokemon experience abilities. Double battles,
Yeah.
the battle frontier. These weren't just novelties. They changed how we play and think about Pokemon.
Yeah, they're essential parts of the Pokemon experience now.
And it's all thanks to Gen 3.
It really is. Gen 3 wasn't just a stepping stone, it was a turning point. It showed the world what a Pokemon game could be.
And set a new standard for innovation and creativity.
A standard that still inspires developers today.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one thing you want our listeners to take away from all of this? What's the essence of Gen 3 in your opinion?
That's a good question. I think it's the idea that evolution doesn't have to mean abandoning the past.
Right.
Gen 3 took everything that made Pokemon great and just elevated it to a whole new level. It proved that you can take risks and push boundaries while staying true to the heart and soul of what makes something special.
I like that. It's a reminder that growth and innovation can go hand in hand with nostalgia and a love for the classics.
Exactly. And it's a lesson that goes beyond Pokemon. It's about finding that balance between honoring tradition and embracing the future.
Well said. And on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive into the world of Pokémon Gen 3.
It's been so much fun exploring these games with you and sharing our thoughts with everyone listening.
Hopefully this has brought back some memories, maybe sparked some curiosity, and perhaps even inspired a new appreciation for this incredible generation of Pokémon games.
I hope so.
We've covered a lot of ground, from the unique features of each version to the lasting impact Gen 3 has had on the entire Pokémon franchise.
It's been a wild ride.
But at the end of the day, the best way to experience the magic of Gen 3 is to play the games yourself.
So dust off those Game Boy Advances and get ready for an adventure.
And who knows, maybe you'll discover something new, rediscover something you loved, or even find yourself debating which version is the best.
Just remember to have fun.
That's what it's all about. Until next time, keep training, keep exploring, and keep the spirit of Pokémon alive.